How's it going, everybody? Marc here with ChurnZero. We're going to get the webinar started. We'll give people about another 30, 45 seconds and we'll get going. Hey, everyone. Thanks for coming on. We're going to get started with the webinar in just about 30 seconds. All right, let's get going. Welcome to the webinar today. Should new sales be held accountable for churn? My name is Marc Seltzer. I'm an account executive here at ChurnZero. And as far as the agenda is concerned today, we're going to talk about how each department from marketing, sales, product, and support all play a role in churn. We're going to talk about how sales specifically can avoid long-term issues by identifying a poor solution fit early on. We'll also improve departmental synergy, talk about that by having a centralized system where all customer data and tasks can flow to and back from the central system there. So as we start off, what you're looking at here is how we at ChurnZero view the customer lifecycle from the point of view of customer success. Customer success teams are usually tasked with onboarding new clients and stepping in to help at-risk customers based off their product usage. So it's natural to think of customer success as most responsible for addressing customer retention and churn. A good customer success team will ensure that your users get value out of your product by understanding their needs and guiding them to the right solutions. Reality is that each organization looks at customer success differently and can have subsets within a CS department, such as learning development for training or account managers for commercials that come in at certain intervals. This can potentially disrupt the life cycle by having specialized roles come in beyond a primary point of contact. But some CS organizations want their teams away from the selling aspect as not to disrupt the trusted consultant relationship. CS teams currently carry the most varied functions in each company, while also carrying all the renewal and retention dollars for the business. We also tend to see that less cooks in the kitchen post-sale generally lead to a more frictionless life cycle. If the customer is provided with a learning and development manager for training, a customer success manager for lifecycle management, an account manager for upsells and renewals, and a support team for issues, they may not know who to turn to with their questions earlier in their life cycle, which can lead to detractors and disengagement. And speaking with both our client base and customer success team, we've seen most success with the solid CS and account manager partnership after sales handoff, or account executives handoff to a dedicated CS person to run point for all aspects of the customer life cycle. We also tend to see smaller, newer companies have people wearing multiple hats, performing duties across different departments, whereas larger companies have more rigid defined functions for each department at certain stages of the customer life cycle. So a lot really depends on the maturity of your organization, right? Product and customer success team. More mature organizations with more defined processes may allow for less handholding by customer success for things like onboarding, which allows for more strategic and tactical objectives to be accomplished in a trusted advisor role. Another area that we see a vital need for alignment is between sales and marketing. Marketing creates name recognition, builds your brand, and gets your message in front of your target audience. Generally speaking, marketing delivers people to your website. You might think there's very little connection to churn reduction here, but what happens if your marketing attracts the wrong buyers? You know the answer. You're gonna have higher churn and wasted effort. Marketing needs to attract the right people to your service. So beyond CS and sales, look at the alignment between sales and marketing. Asking a few questions and acting on the answers will get more high quality leads flowing in. For instance, are sales and marketing in agreement about what marketing qualified leads and SQLs look like? How are you positioning your company to potential customers? Are your buyer personas or ICPs up to date? Are they being used to reach the right audiences? Having these open questions can prove to be pretty productive. And speaking of ideal customers and their opposite, let's talk about those poor fitting leads that miraculously did make it all the way through the funnel and actually converted to new customers. These poor fit leads turned customers are more likely to leave early and never will upgrade or renew. They're also more likely to become your pain in the behind customers, the ones who are never happy and who eat up all the support and training resources. Sales and marketing should be aligned at the very least that quality over quantity is the key after addressing your ideal customer profile and your target addressable market. It's also worth noting other departments that indirectly play a role in churn, such as the often hidden rock stars within an organization, the customer support team members. When a customer is at their most frustrated or confused, whether for a bug or a billing issue, they turn to your support team. Support's ability to empathize with your customer, understand the problem, and identify a solution is critical to keeping your customers happy. Great customer service generally leads to customers to stick around. And lastly, you're not going to go too far if you're not backed up by an awesome product and product team. Without an amazing product to sell, there are no customers. The product team must maintain tight customer feedback to implement the features that the market's asking for. This not only helps with acquiring new business, but also keeps customers around. So alignment amongst all departments is key, as each one plays a part in the customer relations, which contributes to satisfaction and retention. So we're going to do our first of 3 polls here, and considering what we know about the value of retention, does your CS team share in the churn rate, or are they solely responsible? We're going to give it about 30, 45 seconds here to analyze the results. And, if you have that increase in retention, it can really help the company. Even a few percentage points can greatly increase the value, which is, if you're seeking funding for that next round, is going to play well in the board meetings. And on average, our statistics show that it's about 7 times more costly to acquire a customer than retain one. So with all those dollars at stake, wouldn't it make some degree of sense to distribute the retention responsibility beyond one department? So we'll give it another few seconds here as the results are flying in. And it looks like, surprisingly enough, about 70% plus share in the responsibility of churn, whereas about 30% or so have it dedicated to CS only. That's interesting to see. Great results there. It'll be interesting to see how it's distributed to what other departments, but we'll get into some more departments distribution as we go along here, especially in regards to sales. So about 70-30 split there. There is some sharing, but once that marketing team has done their job and driven that potential buyer to your website, they clicked on demo request, the baton at that point gets passed off to the sales team, right? The drivers of new business for your company. So whether your salespeople prospect or take marketing-driven leads, it's very important they sell to the right customers. Teams may be tempted to get those quick sales to customers that aren't long-term fits, but your churn numbers will reflect that, especially for those early in their customer journey. If sales does not properly identify the customer's pain points and ensure your product fits, the customer will churn out early. No doubt about it. Your product or service is not going to be right for everyone. So the sales rep's time is money, and qualifying for the sake of quantity wastes both time and money. So reps should know how much they need to be bringing in each month or quarter to hit their quota. At a certain point, sales revenues will take a hit if reps get too distracted by leads that are going nowhere fast. On average, your sales teams should be disqualifying about 20% of the leads that come through to them there. If they disqualify less than that, they could be letting subpar leads through. If they routinely disqualify more than that, or spend a disproportionate amount of time on lead qualification, that could signal there's something off with your lead generation activities. So good lead disqualification process doesn't just save your team time and prevent customer churn, it also affects your reputation in the marketplace. Disqualifying leads before they enter your sales funnel is the all-around best option. But if a poor fit lead does slip in, the faster they get weeded out, the better. And it's not just the customers who churn that you have to worry about. The later a lead is disqualified, the more likely the whole experience is to leave a bad impression on them as well. People have a tendency to publicize their thoughts and their interactions with companies. Social media and sites like G2 Crowd make it easier than ever to have your voice be heard. And studies have shown that happy customers tell about 3 people about a good experience. Unhappy customers, on the other hand, tell about 7 times more people that experience. So important to stay on top of that. And in general, it makes sense to assume that retention is a customer success problem. It's in the title of their role to make people successful with your product. But the actual reality is, at a certain point, there's only so much a success team member can do to prevent churn. when a customer is a bad fit for your product from the start. So the discovery call is perhaps the most important call of the sales process. It really sets the tone for your business's relationship with the prospective clients. It's through these calls that your sellers can make a lasting impression. Once discovery calls are made, there's little opportunity to correct anything that's been said. It's imperative to your business that discovery calls are utilized to their full potential. In fact, it's actually a huge opportunity to show sales reps how to stop trying to sell everyone, as well as provide examples of more effective prospecting activities. By showing your sales team how to find better fits for your product early on, you can decrease the chances that customers will churn later. Don't get me wrong, a customer success team will never be able to achieve the retention numbers by themselves. There's too many variables to control for one team. After all, customers don't renew on your product for a number of reasons. Like if you have a low touch product with thousands of customers, they often leave without a word of complaint or feedback, and it's impossible to know why. So instead of expecting your customer success team to improve retention on their own, you should give them more of a conductor role. Their role can expand to organize, monitor, and improve the work of any team whose function can support retention and affect churn. Your customer success managers need to actively organize and engage within the sales teams, the product development, customer support, and marketing teams. Like the conductor of an orchestra, the CSMs can't play in every chair, but they can be responsible for putting the players in the right positions and guiding the strategy. So yes, some churn is natural, and yes, in many companies, reducing churn is now more than ever a big focus for customer success and support teams. Sales managers, though, do have control over the kinds of customers you're bringing on board. And that makes you and your sales team kind of like the first line of defense in keeping poorly fitting clients off your logo list and customer churn to a minimum. When the poor fit customers inevitably do leave, they not only take their dollars from that month and year, that could have come in if they, what about the money that could have come if they stuck around for a little while, 2-3 years? Your best and happiest customers, the ones your reps work so hard to close, could end up getting a below average customer experience because the poor fit, squeaky wheel clients are getting all the support and attention. So we're gonna hit up the second poll here and asking what percentage of churn responsibility do you think should go beyond CS teams? So having said everything about the multi-departments before, and it seems that this audience here does share in it, how much should that percentage go beyond CS? Getting some responses here. We'll give it about 30 seconds and see how this one plays out. So no one has said 0%. And under 10% have said 0 to 25. So much like the first poll, it's about 50-50 split right now. We'll close it out. 50%, 46, let's say 25 to 50, 46% say 50% plus. So there's definitely a thought process here that churn retention responsibility should go beyond the customer success managers. And that's what we're seeing across the board in our day-to-day conversations, but it makes a lot of sense that the poll numbers reflect that. So appreciate everybody responding there. And we'll sort of round out on departmental synergy, right? So it really does come down to this common thread here. Busy tech stacks are viable if there is a single source of truth, if you will, across all business systems. A CRM alone cannot support a complex or unique customer experience, like if product usage over a period of time during customer journey. Consolidating and funneling business systems to align departments with a single source reporting is going to be key here. One refined business system is ideally pushing the same information across all company departments in their tech stack that they use, like a CRM for sales, a CS platform for account managers. So we have to make sure that we're aligning from the data portion too. If we're looking at different data and the numbers aren't lining up, we're going to think that the results are different than they should be. So that departmental synergy is very important because we need to establish that reliable source of truth for the whole company. So what you're looking at here is an example of how an efficiency tool like a ChurnZero can become a reliable and refined source of truth for the entire organization. When these types of insights can be put back into a primary or department system of record, teams will tend to be on the same page more often. So we're going to look at the final poll here as we sort of finish up the webinar, and that question is going to be around the single source of truth. Very interested to see here if the attendees do have something that they use reliably, a CRM, business intelligence tool, a data warehouse, or do you find that everything's sort of disparate and siloed amongst the departments there? So I want to give this one about, again, another 30 seconds, and we'll see the results coming in and how everyone responded. All right, this one's a little even. It's only a yes, no, but it's about 55% say no, we do not have a single source of truth. So you can see how departments could think they're being efficient and acting in the right manner, but they're not being guided properly by the data. So CS is doing something, then marketing, which is doing something, then product, can lead to a lot of disjointedness. So definitely something we're striving for. Let's have a true system of record that everything's coming in, we refine, and we know we can go to for the truth. So in conclusion, Churn's not really any one department's problem. When the whole team adopts a customer-centric mindset, churn and retention rates will improve. This starts at the top from C-level executives and trickles down throughout the whole company. No matter how easy it may be, don't lump all the churn and retention responsibility on your customer success team. Obviously, customer success is vital, but they can't alone reduce churn to the maximum. Every department plays a role here. So your product developers have to make a killer product. Your marketing team has to bring in well-fit leads for sales. Your account managers and technical support have to quickly handle customer complaints. Sales must qualify properly. All of these groups should use internal metrics to measure themselves that support retention. For example, tech support should calculate ticket durations. Marketing should measure lifetime value. Product developers should track the performance of the features they create. When retention numbers start to fall, everyone in your organization should start looking for ways they can improve whatever manner they contribute to retention. So those are the takeaways on the webinar here. I really hope everyone enjoyed the few slides we put together for you. We want to leave a couple minutes here at least for some Q&A. We'll monitor the chat and go through any questions that come in for the next few minutes. So feel free to type in and we'll see what we got. Looks like we got one coming here. Okay. All right, Joe, good question. So at what size headcount for a company do you usually see specialization within CS for things like onboarding or upgrades by account managers? That's a good question. So in my mind, it's not so much a headcount threshold as opposed to, like we talked about earlier, department maturity and hierarchy, right? So we tend to see that CS teams with CSMs, team leaders, directors, VPs of CS generally have more specialized subset departments, whereas scaling in smaller companies, they have to wear more hats and usually manage the entire customer life cycle. That's why it's so vital for smaller teams to have an efficiency tool such as the ChurnZero to operate like a well-established customer success organization. We work with small companies all the time and we see that 1 person, 10-person companies, 10 people in CS, 100-person companies, whatever the case is, they can act like a more enterprise level CS organization because of that truth that's coming in and knowing when to interact and intervene with their clients. All right, looks like we got another question coming in here. Feel free to throw it in the chat. All right, Sylvia, good one here. Do you think the sales team commission should be tied to churn? Well, I'm a salesperson, I'm an account executive. I have a little bit different perspective as I was a customer success manager for a number of years myself. So it's interesting to see how tools like this can empower CS orgs, but it depends on the compensation structure. So if you're like a lot of organizations, you probably sent the wrong signals to sales reps that what matters the most, right? Getting logos in quickly. That's why it's crucial you take a look at how your compensation structure may be impacting churn. So encouraging longer contract rates wasn't all about convincing people to commit to a service they didn't want for a long time. Instead, it's really meant to be that the sales team, they had to work a little bit harder to find customers who really needed their service. And since they did that work up front, new prospects were more likely to prepay or commit to a longer contract. It's really a total win-win. So to some degree, I would say not necessarily, if sales doesn't have much connection after the handoff, it's tough to say, hey, the CS person worked with them for 10 months or 24 months and they churn. We're going to take away the commissions they sold a year or two ago. That's why it's so vital in my mind to qualify better and help your implementation and customer teams out. Don't give them those poor fits. They won't churn, but I think the longer term agreements, if they cancel early, that could definitely be an area to look back at some compensation rebate, let's say, to the company. All right, and it looks like we got one more here. We can take one more. How often should we be reviewing our ICP, or ideal customer profile, between sales and marketing? Great question, Joe. So the ICP, how you define your client, to me, that's a lot like a churn score or health score in ChurnZero. It's really never set in stone, right? It's always evolving. So I would say at a minimum, quarterly basis, analyze, let's say, the lead flow against any ICP or targeted ad campaigns to see how the conversion rate, as well as any trends on those targets becoming actual paying customers. Most important, analyze your own customer data to start, right? It's already in your CRM. You already know what the traits or characteristics of your most successful clients are. Analyze their industry, headcount, whatever else that you can pick up, so you can then turn around and begin to market to similar companies those trends as well. All right, well, we can always answer more questions sort of offline. We've hit the time limit, if you will. Check us out, ChurnZero Online. Follow us on LinkedIn, subscribe to our blogs. Feel free to tap myself or any of my team members here. More than happy to give anyone a tour on ChurnZero. Appreciate everybody's time here today. We'll see you on the next one.